Hey, what's up YouTube? Goratha here. So today's video is going to be an update on the Acolyte of Chayula Poison Bow character. My last video, I went over leveling and kind of like my plans for the character. Today's video, I'm going to go over some things I've learned about the character, some updates, talk about how the character clears, the bossing, talk about the rotation and stuff. I have a Maxwell Endgame planner that I've made alongside the other planner. I'll link both of them in the description below. There's also the other video if you want to see how I leveled. Yeah, let's get into it. So I feel like just looking end game is probably the easiest way. I could show you like my end game setup. So let me switch over to that. Okay, here we are. First thing I want to talk about is the gear changes. So first off, I'm using a Mink's Heart now. I found this in S stuff. This is quite good actually. It's a lot of damage. This shows you just how much damage you're getting from the Chayula ascendancy because it's adds a lot. It's very noticeable. However, I would say if you're like lower level, I recommend not running this until you have pretty good defenses, because it does lower a lot of your life and evasion and ES. So pretty big downside defensively, but it is a noticeable damage increase. Speaking of damage, so I've actually managed, as this is my first character on a fresh SF run, I've actually managed to kill all the bosses, all the bridge bosses with this build so far. And the craziest part about this is I actually used really, really bad weapons. This is mostly because I got unlucky with weapons and I'm playing S stuff. So I had no real way of like progressing other than just trying to do the bosses with less gear. And honestly, the build did it pretty well. I wouldn't say it's the highest single target damage build of all time, but it has a lot of damage while moving. It's a very mobile character. So you have lots of time to move around and dodge things. The first Zesh kill, I killed it with this bow here. 170 top end. Honestly, kind of surprised. It died pretty fast. It was a pretty easy fight. The next Zesh I did, I got Black Cold damage, which actually scales the damage gained with damage from hits gained as extra chaos. This is increasing your base damage, which then is being turned into chaos damage. So we actually get a lot of extra scaling through poison from elemental damage, even without having poison gloves, the plague finger. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I changed in the gear. I did want to mention I have a 60 spirit amulet. I mentioned this in the last video, but I actually feel like if you didn't want to have such a high spirit amulet, you could just get like 30 spirit and just drop Ghost Dance. I actually have 10 more than I need already, so I really only need 20 spirit to run all the auras for reservations. Ghost Dance honestly doesn't seem very good to me. It's actually bugging out a lot, and it doesn't work with overflow from Grim Feast. You can always like turn on Ghost Dance and turn on Grim Feast depending on what you're doing. Ghost Dance seems like it's bugging out a lot, and when you weapon swap, you have to get Ghost Shrouds for the second weapon swap, which is kind of weird. Sometimes it like bugs out and doesn't work. I don't really know what's going on with it. It has some weird issues going on though, so like, yeah, I don't know. Not sure if it really matters that much if you have it or not. Next thing I want to talk about is the weapon swap, actually. I mentioned weapon swapping. I do have a weapon swap now with a weapon swap trait. That will be on the Maxwell planner as well. I can show you. Give me a second. So there's a clear speed single target tree here, and then also on the passive tree, there's a normal tree and a weapon swap tree. So I did it at the very end, so you can see like just exactly what nodes you're swapping. So if you're not at this point yet, just go to the very end and see like exactly what type of points you would swap. The main thing you're looking for is CDR, Skull Effect Duration. This is because we're using weapon swap Blink. I mentioned before, you don't need Ghost Dance. You can also use a additional skill slot, but you do need room for Blink to be in your weapon swap. The way this works is you have Blink set to weapon swap 2, and then you weapon swap with a spirit weapon. It'll give you enough spirit to cast Blink. And with the weapon swap, we're getting a little extra CDR, and with the shield, we get a lot of extra CDR. So the blink is actually relatively fast. You get lots of extra CDR for that.
Not yet.
We end up moving around pretty fast when we weapon swap. The other part of the weapon swap is going for Wither effect. So I have Eye of Winter set to my second weapon swap as well, along with my curse. My curse lasts a long time because of curse duration on the tree, and I also run persistent ship. Normally your Despair will have a 6-second base duration, but we have 12.5 seconds because of the scaling. Again, make sure you have your weapon swap set to 2. That way you don't cast it on weapon slot 1 and you lose all the benefits. Same with your Eye of Winter. And this also is required to do on your main abilities. It's the opposite way. You want to make sure you have your weapon swap set to 1 on the main abilities. Otherwise, you won't even be able to cast Gas Arrow if you're on weapon swap 2 in the first place. But make sure you have these all set to 1, because you do drop damage nodes to actually weapon swap to the Curse effect, Wither effect, and like CDR stuff. Now, there is another node on the tree that I didn't have before, and it's Eternal Youth Keystone. This changes your Life Flask into applying the ES instead of life, which is actually really, really good. Normally, when you lose your ES, you're down to 0 ES, you're at way higher risk of getting one-shot. You have no way to recover the ES in like the exact moment. Having an instant Life Flask and having Eternal Youth, kind of just like spam your Life Flask, and all your ES comes back. He has a clip of a breach where I'm just like getting sunlocked and frozen, and I can just stay in the breach and just spam my Life Flask, and I'm perfectly fine. It's very nice. I would say don't worry about it until you have about 1,000 ES probably, maybe 1,500. It's really good though. It's really nice. I like it a lot. Nothing else really changed with the tree. I did level up a lot more though, and I ended up grabbing Wasting Nodes and Fast Acting Toxins. Damaging amulets deal damage faster is really good for poison builds because it doesn't reduce the total damage. It just increases the damage, like the DPS. As a quick note here, the gem Comorbidity has less poison duration. This is the exact opposite of that. This lowers your total damage and doesn't make the poison faster. So this is a 30% less multiplier. Comorbidity is pretty bad, honestly. People were asking me why I'm not using the shim. If you want to use it, you can put it on Vine Arrow. It'll give you additional poison from the impact. So that's going to be something to do. Overall, though, I would say do not put this in your Gas Arrow. This is a very bad gem for poison because the less poison duration. This is almost the Pathfinder downside, just for 1 extra poison, which is just not really worth it, honestly. Speaking of gems, actually, I guess I can talk about the gems while I'm looking at it. I've been testing a lot of setups, and I've come to the conclusion, for mapping, you definitely want to have Bursting Plague. And for bossing, you definitely want to have Conk Effect. These are pretty easy to swap in and out. You don't have to do this, but it is noticeably better. Bursting Plague helps the clear speed. Sort of like some semi-explosion type mechanic. It's very nice, but it doesn't really add any single target damage. Yeah, I don't really need it anymore, but it's still nice anyways. I've switched Scattershot over to Vine Arrow. Now, Vine Arrow is pretty nice on bosses. I don't really cast it while mapping very much. Generally, the mapping is 1 single Gas Arrow into the Plague Nova explosion. Plague Nova is your single target, honestly. Like, this stacks up with 1 Gas Arrow, and then it's a massive hit. So your main goal with the character is to get as many Plague Bearer explosions as possible. And then you also have Vine Arrow, which does damage based on your highest damage poison. It's important to try to poison these plants with the Plague Nova. With that in mind, I'm not sure if this actually works this way, but I think Scattershot on the Vine Arrow helps a lot with that for single target. And I saw a font of Rage on it, because Rage is pretty nice. You can kind of pre-stack it on bosses. And I have Swift Affliction, which affects the vines and not the poison, and Momentum. Now, Momentum could be on your Gas Arrow as well. I'll quickly show you what it looks like. So if you're moving around while casting, you'll get a little explosion here. Kind of hard to tell with Vine Arrow because it has like the vine explosion going off too. I could show you in the main link here. One thing to note about this though is you can't use Martial Tempo. For some reason, it doesn't work. Show you real quick. It kind of worked a little bit there. It's actually a lot harder to go off though.
No mana.
Yeah, it sometimes works, but it's way more consistent if you do it like this without the attack speed. Honestly, not quite sure how it's working. But anyways, Momentum is pretty good if you can get the little like green thing going off. That's how you can see Momentum's working. I haven't been using it on Gas Arrow, but it's an option. I like Scattershot while mapping, and I like Bursting Plague while mapping. And Martial Tempo is just another quality of life gem. You don't necessarily need Martial Tempo, but it feels really good to play with. So, there's that. Kind of some preference things going on here. I do have Execute as well. Like, if you really want to have really big single target on bosses, you can do like an Execute swap. Artifact Execute. Maybe even just try to do Momentum as well on top of that. Lots of options here. This might be the highest single target setup right here. Is half Deadly Poison, Momentum, Artifact, and Execute. Loads of options. I'd recommend not going too crazy with it. Just swap Conk Effect for Bursting Plague and stick with the whatever gems you have. This would only really apply to like Pinnacles, by the way. Like if you're doing like a map boss, you don't really need to swap anything. The damage is pretty high. But if you wanted like a little extra bossing damage, that's what I would do personally. And you can put extra gems in your bow shot. Unfortunately, you can't do a Conk Effect, but the other ones go there. Pretty much everything I want to talk about the gems. Like I said, big damage is Plague Rare. Whatever the weapon swap. The tree hasn't really changed too much. I do want to mention that skill speed is actually really noticeable. I'm not sure if it applies to weapon swap, but I have noticed that I feel like my character maybe weapon swaps faster with it. I don't want to like say for sure like a one way or the, like another. I need to test that a bit more. But it feels like skill speed is just affecting everything I do almost, except for like move speed. It feels nicer. If you really don't like the weapon swap like feel to it, there's also the option to get weapon swap jewels, which are it goes up to 25% weapon swap speed on a ruby. That is actually noticeably better. If you really hate like the kind of clunky feeling of weapon swapping, that would help a lot. Right now, I'm currently focused on increased effective wither, life on kill, mana on kill. There's also skill effect duration, ES. Poison magnitude is a jewel option. Increased magnitude of poisons, bow damage. I'm kind of limited because I'm playing SF, so I'm basically just using what I find. I think the highest DPS would be poison magnitude, poison duration, and like wither effect probably. Those can't all roll in the same jewel. Poison duration, poison magnitude are on emeralds, and wither effect would be on a sapphire. Those are kind of the mods you're looking for, though. I haven't talked about jewels before, and so figured I'd throw it in there. And yeah, pretty much everything that changed with the character, I'm still looking forward to min-maxing it. I want like a way better bow. You're looking for additional skill levels, additional arrow, like attack speed, big damage, like really big flat fizz damage is best because it scales really well with Heft. Heft does the 30% more maximum fizz damage, which applies to the gas cloud. If you do get like a really good bow and it has like a good flat roll, like a flat alley roll, that's pretty good still because it applies to the chaos damage. And yeah, that's pretty much my current gear. Not too much gonna change. Maybe I'll go for like a bigger ES chest, ES evasion chest, better weapon, better quiver. I would say that Rislatha's Coil could be an interesting unique item. This gives you 40% more maximum physical damage. This could apply really nice poisons. Or Ingenuity could be a thing if you want to min-max the character even further. I'm playing SSF, so my options are a lot more limited. I figured I'd give you guys a couple more like chase unique options. And yeah, Hoa. Like I said before, Hoa is going to be a completely different build. I don't even really want to mention it because I feel like people are going to try Hoa with the same tree. It's just not going to work. I need to test that out for myself, but it might be a way to go about it. If you know what you're doing, you can kind of try that out maybe. You need to stack a lot of int though. It's not going to work if you just have the same tree. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this update. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too long. There's a lot to talk about with this character. I've been really enjoying it, honestly. The clear speed's been really nice. The bossing has been not the crazy bossing all the time, but it's very, you can see everything that's happening. There's like no visual clutter, and you have insane mobility, and you don't really get one-shot that often. So it's a very tanky character, especially without Ming's Heart. Overall, I've been enjoying it quite a bit. It's been very chill for mapping, and yeah. I hope you guys enjoy the character, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. And as always, if you guys like the content, make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.